Hello and welcome to Matt's Mosh Pit. And today I am joined by the legendary Chuck Billy from Testament. How are you doing, sir?
Good. What's happening?
Oh, I'm just completely giddy. This is just a complete honor. And I've told my channel this. Para Bellum is literally it was my one of my favorite albums of last year. It was on my list
Oh, right on.
and I also should mention that I'm kicking myself because I really actually just found Testament through Para Bellum. And so I've gone back since and listened to everything. It's just I'm kicking myself because I could have, joined in 40 plus years ago. And so,
Well, that's all right. It's never too late, but man, I guess that says something for Parabellum that it actually got your
mm,
attention and the
ab-
song struck you. Because I think this record for us, it's something that for a band, I guess examples you, someone that maybe has never
mm,
heard of us and heard it and probably would go, well, you probably knew who it was, but you might think, well, that doesn't sound like a band that's been around as long as they've been around. Wow.
y- y-
Because it feels when we wrote the songs that it felt fresh and,
mhm,
just it felt exciting because I think Chris had a lot to do with that, being as young as he is coming into the project. And, he's when he first started playing with it, he was 23 years old,
mhm,
so he definitely was a different generation of drumming that he was raised with. So I think he's bringing a little bit of new flavor and
mhm.
and element and youth to the band and the songwriting.
Yeah. And that's one of the things I actually really wanted to, because I am relatively new and I've done this like complete deep dive. When I was going back to the older albums, I was just assuming in my head that everything was just going to sound older, as it would with the times. And I've noticed that, even with that factored in, just from the first album on, it seems like you guys have always had this sense of still sounding modern, for lack of better terms. It's like you still keep to your thrash roots, but yet it always has this like modern feel to it. So I can go back and listen to anything from, the first album, midway through albums, and even up to Parabellum. And there's this sense of, I'd say modern with the times, but also you have a sense of not leaning too hard into whatever was probably popular at that time. Like a lot of times in the 90s albums, people kind of went too far into the grunge world, just I'm assuming because labels are probably like, hey, that's what's hot. You guys found a way to stay modern sounding, but yet you didn't kind of sell your souls to the what was going on at that
Yeah, I
time.
think
Was
we
that on
sounded. I think we
purpose?
kept sounding. Well, I think we kept sounding Testament.
Yeah.
Because Eric is the main songwriter, and
Hmm.
he doesn't. He loves his black metal. His
Hmm.
Swedish metal. He's a love for that, but he doesn't put that in the early Testament stuff. But
Hmm.
he doesn't venture out and try to listen to what's current, what's happening. He doesn't. He's
Hmm.
not that guy. So that's the good thing about when Eric writes. He writes what he feels, so
Hmm.
he's not following what's current, what's out there, what's going on. Um, I do think maybe this record, though, because Chris and him hung out so much, maybe Chris was turning him on to some newer bands that maybe Eric didn't know of yet, and
Hmm.
maybe loved the heaviness and kind of maybe brought some of that to the new record, and which was good. It pushed me to my limits in different directions as a vocalist, 40 years into it and being driven to push myself to, pushing to try different things at this point.
Hmm.
So yeah,
You
I
always
think
have.
this record really established a lot of what we've done up to this record. We've really culminated a lot of it.
Hmm. I was going to say your vocals on this album in particularly are amazing in the fact that you almost have, in some cases, you've got like almost black metal type of vocals or, much harsher vocals, and then the cleans and all of that. And when you look at some of your contemporary bands, your vocals are stronger than ever. Like I feel like that they've gotten better each album. How do you do that?
I don't know if it's better, I'm good at using the tools in my tool bag that I got
Mhm.
because I don't have a lot of range, and and everything like that. But what I do because I've written a long time with Eric. I just
Hmm.
and we know what works and what doesn't. I've wrote with other people, and it's definitely not the same vibe. So
Hmm.
there's something about that working with Eric for so long. Um, just just something about it. It's the formula of Testament, I guess.
Yeah, it's all I gotta say is it's fantastic, and I've told my audience many times that I'm kicking myself for not having, I know I always say, it doesn't matter if you're late to the party as long as you get there. So I guess I should be thankful that I got there. Back to, and I would kind of want to take this back to the roots, essentially, or your roots as a vocalist. I'm always fascinated by the confidence that it takes to get up on stage for the very first time. And did you have that confidence always, or was it hard to, get up on stage and, belt it out?
I say I have the confidence. I've always had that, being a bigger guy, been an athlete, always just kind of, had that kind of confidence. But I do get nervous. My
Hmm.
nerves still before every tour, no matter what tour, even like coming up,
Hmm.
when the closer I get, the more knots my stomach gets into. And I don't know why it does that, but it's always till the first show is over.
Hmm.
And I feel out how my voice is because I'm always concerned, man, if I lost my voice on the first show and I got a whole month left, oh my God, that's going to be horrible.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I play mind games with myself. So it's once I get to that one, I go, oh, that wasn't bad. Me. Okay, it's still there. It feels good. All right, let's go tomorrow. And then once I get going, then I settle down. Once I'm a week into it,
Hmm.
my nerves are kind of gone, and I'm more at ease, and then it becomes more fun.
Okay.
At first it's a mind game with myself.
Hmm. When you first started vocally, I noticed a lot of bands, the vocalists that I've spoken to, a lot of times when they very first start out, they try to emulate somebody until they find their particular voice. And sometimes it happens right away. Sometimes it happens 3 albums deep when they finally find their voice. Did you always have your voice, or did it take a while to find it?
Well, it definitely took a while. I don't know if I've ever found it because I always wanted to be a guitar player. That's what was my
Hmm.
goal when I was growing up. I kind of stumbled into becoming a singer. And once I kind of handed that microphone and like, hey, you're the singer now,
Hmm.
I kind of put down the guitar and said, okay, well, I got to figure out how to sing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
singing these cover songs and some of these originals what these guys wrote, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I went back to college and started taking private lessons and this was before, I really was knew about thrash metal or the harder music. I was still into Thin Lizzy and UFO and Old Scorpions and stuff like that, at the
Mhm.
time. So those kind of bands were more melodic singers, so I was kind of learning that whole thing at that time, you
Okay.
know.
Was there a particular person or a particular band, out, you mentioned Thin Lizzy. Was it something where you're like, I want to sound kind of like, Phil Lynott or
Well, I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to sound like, but I think when I first demoed and got into my first band other than my brother's band, that was
Mhm.
some other people and we're actually going to go perform and stuff. Had to be 1983 or something like that, and that was still in the Bear. It was still a lot of hair metal stuff.
Mhm.
And I was still a melodic singer, but again, I didn't know what tools. I couldn't scream. I didn't know what I do, but I had a higher range voice at the time because I was young.
Mhm.
So I would have to say it had to probably been like Rat, I would say at
Okay.
that time. It was more
Yeah.
Stephen Pearcy kind of a approach on vocals, I guess is where I started.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, like 3, 4 years later when I got into Testament Legacy, that's when I kind of got turned on by Eric and everybody and about Metallica and Exodus and stuff. And then it's like, whoa, these vocals are way different. This isn't like really melodic like UFO
Mhm.
and Scorpions. This is wow, this is singing like this on the beat. It's really more attack and aggression.
Hmm.
Okay, well, I could do that, I think. So I got the gig in Legacy, and Eric kind of trained me for that first year how to sing like that, So really quick, I learned how to become a thrash metal singer. And then once I got comfortable singing their songs, I kind of applied my lessons or my melodic influence to the
Hmm.
thrash that I was doing with them. So I kind of developed my own thing over the years, trying to put a little more of the melody in with
Hmm.
thrash, powerful vocals.
Okay. And so, if I'm correct, and you mentioned it, Eric, he writes the music, and then you write the lyrics, if I'm correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, do
And,
you
and the
get?
lyrics I write with partners. I
Okay.
write with the guy Del James and Steve Zetro Souza.
Hmm.
Zet's in Exodus and was in Legacy when before me. And Dell, he works with Guns N' Roses. His big hit is November Rain. He wrote with them.
Wow.
So we've been friends for a long time, and we've been writing like 30 years together on all our records.
Hmm.
So same with Zet.
Awesome. So you get presented the music. I'm just trying to figure out how it works in the studio, or even pre-studio. So you get presented with the music. I'm assuming it's not fully complete, but just enough to go on, and then you
Yeah.
find the lyrics that match the song.
Yeah, well, Eric, he brings in the drummer, and they work at
Hmm.
Eric's studio in his house. They got electronic stuff, and they just lay down a bunch of riffs and try to piece together like, skeletons of ideas,
Hmm.
nothing concrete. And then I'll get that, and then I'll kind of take that away and go to LA or go to Zets and take that music they give me, and then I'll listen to it a bunch of times, and then I'll come in with a melody or a timing
Hmm.
and a idea, a concept, and then we'll start writing the concept right there. We'll start, and it all starts, on the idea, and then it starts listening to the music, and it's like jumping rope.
Hmm.
Okay, here comes the riff. Where do I come in?
Oh, okay.
Now, here, da, 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 ba, da, and then we just start tapping out the timing of the words, and it's
Hmm.
all syllables. Sometimes it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 solo, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Hmm.
We just kind of the pattern, and so we start developing words and phrasing, and then it starts coming to life, and then it starts making sense, and then we find that pattern and that hook and go back and go, oh, no, no, make it like this, and then it
Hmm.
just kind of comes together,
Yeah.
naturally. But for the most part, me and Zet and Dell, we've always had a really good writing relationship, because when we get together, we don't mess around. We don't write a song and give up. We finish.
Hmm.
When I get with Dell, I'll write 2 songs in one day. Same with Zet. We'll sit there and knock 2 songs in one day, just
Wow.
that's what I love about it. So when Eric and them have the music and their arrangements are really close and final, I know that, okay, it's time to go with them, because when I come back, I'm
Hmm.
going in the studio and I'm ready to lay down the vocals, because I don't go back and rehearse with the band.
Hmm.
I go back and record them and then let the band hear what I did. So
Okay.
they're almost hearing me sing for the first time on these songs after I'm tracking them,
Mm.
you
So
know.
do you enjoy being in the studio, or is it? I see some people that they love touring, hate being in the studio. Then there's people that love being in the studio and
Love
hate
both.
touring.
I,
Okay.
I love both, because the studio, I mean, I'll go to there and we'll go in and do one song. I mean, we have the comfort to do that. I mean, in the old days, like they were going to the studio every day's work, all endless hours.
Hmm.
But we're doing it at home, and it's comfortable, and we take our time. So I'll go in and I'll sing a song a day,
Hmm.
come back and lay some backgrounds or something and touch it up if I have to. But, that's it. It's pretty relaxed. Eric takes his tracks home and tracks them at home by himself. And it's the process is pretty laid back. We're in no rush, because we've learned that these songs and albums, gotta stand the test of time. And once they're done, there ain't no going back. So there's
Yeah.
no rush, you
That
know.
seems to be a common thing I've heard from musicians is there's a fear in the studio of, trying to make it perfect. And at some point you have to leave it alone and just, And they say that, when you play it live, you can do what you really want to do with it, but in the studio, you're kind of locked into whatever the last take was, but there's a certain pressure there. So do you feel that
Yeah.
same pressure?
Well, things always work out different live. I mean, I know we've done that where studio, it's we do something different instead of live, we'll change. And sometimes it's just a simple beats that we need to transition into other songs when we connect songs together. Simple things, but yeah, it definitely there's something about extending sections or cutting them short,
Mhm.
different from the records. That's
Awesome.
it. Just little things like that.
Awesome. So I got to ask a couple things about Parabellum. Room 117. What happened
Mhm.
in room? Like, how did you get room 117? I'm just kind of curious because now if I ever go to a hotel and I get 117, I don't know if I should be freaked out or not.
Yeah, it's a personal one. It's again, Dell James, my writing partner of,
Mhm.
30 years. Um, his mother was ill and he was in the hospital with his mom.
Oh,
Spent a lot of time and he wrote me one night. I got this text or email and he said, "Hey, I've been in the hospital a lot of time with my mom. I wrote some words, poem. Hey, if you want to use some of these in any context, use them." And it was a poem about room 117. And that's the room his mom was in and didn't
oh
come out.
wow.
She passed in it. So I took that idea and wrote, the
Mhm.
song about being in room 117 and, having the angels sing and the light shining down the hall, calling out the name, you know,
Wow.
leading them by the hand and stuff. So it was really kind of a personal song, tribute to his mom and in room 117.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It really adds context to it. It's one of my favorite tracks on the album. And so just kind of curious, but so, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear about his mother passing. I also love Havana Syndrome. That's
Yeah.
your vocals on that are fantastic. I love that.
It's that's
Go ahead.
such a weird one because when I wrote that song, when I heard the song, I had that hook in there. What the hell is going on? I
Yeah.
had that line, and it was such a weird phrasing over that part, but it was just such it just kept going over in my head. And when I sang it for Eric and them, I mean, I don't know, they didn't get it,
Mhm.
until I wrote the rest of the song and put it together is when it really made sense.
Mhm.
But it was free. And since I had wrote, actually been contacted by someone that was working in our government that actually was involved in that, who that happened to. And he related to the song so well. He wrote to our fan club saying that he needs to talk to somebody who wrote it because he was just so intrigued by how spot on it was, the words and what we were talking about. And
Wow.
so I want to do a Zoom with him and record this and talk about his experience and what it's done to him because he says you nailed it on the head what we're going through and it needs to be known that this is happening. And it's funny because I seen that weapon even being used today currently because those cargo freight carriers in the ocean that the pirates are hijacking. They're
Wow.
starting to use this weapon now against them.
Mhm.
So, they're aiming at these boats coming in, hitting them with these sonic weapons, and they're just fucking throwing up and they're
Oh
herring and
yeah.
they're just losing their shit. So, it's
It's
real,
crazy.
you
Yeah.
know.
I would love to see that. Like, I hope you can pull that zoom off because that would
He
be
wants to do a Zoom and I'd love to record it and share that because it's just be interesting hearing his story and the mystery because I'm writing it from what I've read and stuff, but to talk to somebody experienced
Mhm.
that's awesome.
That's crazy. That's just super cool. It's super cool how, you can put something out and then somebody just out of the blue comes back and has, that experience. That's the one thing I do love about technology. You can sort of throw something out and then, have people respond to it. And the same thing with, infanticide AI. How are you when it comes to the future in AI? I know there's the song, but I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
how it affects your music.
I'm, I'm, I guess I'm torn because I guess I'm glad about the advancement of technology, but
Mhm.
I'm scared of technology in the wrong hands and what it's going to be used for. And
Mhm.
what point does AI, because it's really retaining information. So when does it retain too much information? And maybe it tries to think for itself, or it has control of nuclear sites
Mhm.
or warheads and
Yeah.
decides that it's time to, push a button. You don't want someone to have that kind of power or control. So,
Yeah.
or to think or logically try to think that that makes sense to do that.
Hmm.
So that's the scary thing. But I see, technology even in today, driving in driverless taxis in San Francisco and New York and Texas. I've
Hmm.
experienced that. I was in LA this weekend and seeing all these carts delivering food down sidewalks,
Hmm.
and it's just technology's, man. You can't
Yeah.
run from it, you know?
I agree with you. It's definitely on one end, it's made life so much easier on so many, ends. But then on the other end, you look at the big picture and it's like, what if they do take over? And somebody tried to explain it. I forgot who it was, but they were trying to say that, we would end up becoming their pets. And they're like, usually, people are good to their pets. And I'm like, well, in some cases, they're not good to their pets, in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. But
Yeah, but human logic and digital logic, I guess, whatever, and
mhm.
is I would think I don't know how they can interpret that. I
Yeah.
don't know. The brain interpreting one thing to a computer. I
Hmm.
just don't see it the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely going to be interesting. Interesting to see how it goes. But speaking of interesting, you mentioned your tour. Thrash of the Titans is hitting
Hmm.
North America and unfortunately not in my area. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, and the
Ah,
closest to me is in Pennsylvania. I'm still trying to work that out. Um, but you guys are going on tour with Overkill and Destruction, if I'm correct, which
yeah, yeah.
that's a tour and a half
Yeah,
right
all
there.
40 years of friendship between like all of us. So we've all
Wow.
known each other. Like we've toured with Overkill in 1987 was one of the first bands that we went out on
Mhm.
tour with. And
Wow.
Destruction, we've known them for close to 40 years, going back all the way to the Dynamo days back in
Hmm.
1987 and 88, So, and we just spent this last October in Europe with Destruction. So
Hmm.
we decided to bring them here on the tour and Overkill, of course, being another East Coast thrash metal
Hmm.
band. It seemed appropriate and the fam seemed to love the idea. So, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a good time, I'm sure, hanging out, a lot of good hangs
Hmm.
and a good night of some good old school, new school thrash metal.
Yeah, it looks like an amazing bill, and like I said, I got to find a way to get to Pennsylvania because that's the closest to me. But no, it's definitely
You need to, but especially because we're going to be playing hopefully a lot of stuff off Para Bellum.
awesome.
Since you turned on to that, because
Yes.
this is such a live feeling vibe record. We start rehearsals and this is the first time in rehearsals that we're all going to play the songs together because we don't play them together in the studio. We
Wow.
write them and we record them. So
Hmm.
when we go on tour and like now is the first time we'll get together and go, hey, you guys remember that song? you know and so we'll start stumbling through these songs for a week until we go, okay, that which one feels strong and should be on the tour.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be fun.
I was gonna ask that actually because the way I was trying to noodle it in my head once again. I'm kind of going through your whole discography and at this stage, I'm assuming there's probably what 15 to 17 songs that can fit on in a set. How do you pick, given the fact that you have, 14 albums? Like, how do you,
it's
you know,
it's tough. It's tough, but Into the Pit is always in there, so there's
Mhm.
always less one song that's been in
Yeah,
our show since
classic.
day one. Classic. And then, I think lately every record we've done, we've probably played 3 to 4 songs off the records, where in the past it would always seem to be maybe 2 tracks.
Hmm.
So the stuff we're writing more current is more, I guess, live vibe music. So and Parabellum especially, I can't wait to play Parabellum, that one especially, for the love of pain will be brutal. All of them
Oh
are gonna be
yeah.
fun. All of them will be fun. Nature of the Beast, that's gonna be fun to sing. Room
Mhm.
117.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to starting rehearsals, trying them all out.
Okay, you've convinced me. I got to get to Pennsylvania. It's going to happen.
And Meant to Be, if I could pull Meant to Be off live, that's the one that is be the big challenge trying that, live.
I think that would be amazing. And so, because I
Yeah.
was thinking, For the Love of Pain might be challenging too, because that's, like I said, you're all over the place on that one as far as,
Yeah, but once I get on tour and my voice is really loose and warmed up,
mhm,
it doesn't bother me going up, scream, death, all that. And Eric will accompany me live with a lot of the screams, and
mhm.
Alex will do a lot of the yelling. And I think we're actually might even give Chris a microphone
Oh, fun.
coming up on this tour. See, he's a singer as well.
Okay. Cool. So, when it comes to touring, you've been there, done that. I think probably played everywhere. Is there something like going to like when you go to a different town, is there still something that you need to do, or do you just kind of some people stay on the bus and just, do what they got to do. Some people
Uh,
go out and go to museums and stuff during the daytime or whatever prior to the show. Is there anything that you look
Not
forward
during the show time.
to?
During the show day, it's pretty laid back.
Mhm.
There's always a walk involved, or I take my Peloton on the road and I'm in the truck
Mhm.
doing a Peloton bike or something. In the past, we've done, me and Eric, we'd bring pistols out and go shooting ranges during the day and
Mhm.
stuff, shit like that. But, you know, for the most part now, I mean, it depends the time of year. If it's a
Mhm.
winter tour, most of us, yeah, then we're mostly staying indoors, trying to stay dry and not get sick.
Mhm.
Summertime, we're outdoors, we're barbecuing, we're doing whatever,
Yeah.
going for walks and shit like that.
Is there one thing that you have to have on tour, whether it be like a specific food item or specific drink item or, something just to stay sane on tour?
Well, not for me, but I know Eric and Steve got to have their vodka every day.
Mhm.
Eric's got to have his bottle of Grey Goose, and Steve's got to have his Absolute every day, and Alex has got to have his whiskey or bourbon. So
Okay.
those are the things. But we do go and travel by what we remember as far as restaurants. I won't lie about that.
Mhm.
We have our favorite places like, oh, we're going to Denver. Oh, this is that place that has that really good green chili, soup.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, let's go there for lunch. So we have plans. Well, oh, remember this place we all went and we had these. And so, we tend to do that. We'll get up and like go have lunch somewhere
Mhm.
and go to our favorite spot, because for me as a vocalist, I can't eat 5, 6 hours before the show. So
Wow.
I have to be done eating by 3 in the afternoon or so. So I'll get up and find lunch between 12 and 3. We'll
Mhm.
we'll all kind of find out. Anybody remember what was in this town? Or I'll look up on diners, drive-ins, and dives and go, what was good on that show you can recommend?
Yeah. I was say I am so guilty of that. Anywhere I go to travel, the first thing I do is look up like, what food am I getting over there? And
Yeah, why not?
no, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Um,
Yeah.
so no, it's super, super cool. The other thing is that I'm always fascinated by, and goes back to the once again, you've been there, done that. Played every stage, locations, and all that. Is there like one particular moment where you've had that, like I always call it the like laying on your pillow that night moment where you're like, oh my God, did I actually do that? Like, did that actually happen? Is there like one thing that stands out, or is it just accumulation of career?
Well, there's a lot, but I think the number one thing was in 1988. Of course, we're on our third record, you know, 1988. Uh, we get a call saying that Megadeth canceled 2 shows in Germany on the Monsters of Rock,
Yeah.
in Germany on the Rhine River. And we're like, holy shit, of course we'll be there. And
Hmm.
so we get there, and these are venues that had 120,000 people at each of the shows. And of course, we've never experienced anything like that. So you walk out to 120,000 people, your energy is pumped. I watched that video and I'm running like a chicken with my head cut off. I couldn't stop headbanging, I couldn't stop moving on stage. I was so excited, but to be backstage and have like Kiss and David Lee Roth happened to be right next to the trailer next to me, and he was out on this table, and we got to meet David Lee Roth. And here we are, these kids like, holy shit, here we are with
Mhm.
all our big heroes, playing this massive venue. So that was kind of the night, like, holy, that did that just really happen, the
Yeah,
first day, and then we got to do it 2 days later again, and it was like, wow, holy smokes, man. Yeah, it was just like
it's
a
awesome.
weekend just went by of like, wow, that
Yeah.
happened.
That,
And then of course we took that footage and made a video,
yes.
nobody's fault video we did. We put that in there.
I always love those moments because I'll be honest with you, like moment like today, talking to you is going to be one of those moments where I lay my head on my pillow. I'm like, did that actually just happen? Like that's just so cool. And so I love it when there's, the folks that give me that vibe have that same, kind of moment in their lives, which is awesome. And so now I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
finally I get to go to like the geeky section. I tend to collect a lot of things, and a lot of it's autographs and albums and all that kind of good stuff. Do you have any collections or hobbies outside of, you know, Testament?
Yeah, I mean, hobbies or
I'd
collections.
say collect. I'd start off with collections. I
Well,
guess that's the I tend to
well, I
focus
mean,
on
I do
that.
collect vinyl. I mean, I've known
Mhm.
that to do that more tendency, especially over the years traveling and my younger years spending more time on the bus, recovering from hangover instead of
Mhm.
experiencing the city. Where later on life, I start going, wow, man, these great record shops all over. I'm hearing about it. I better.
Mhm.
And then thinking, wow, I love playing vinyl. I don't have this record, and then I'd go on missions to find a record that I know I don't have and I can't find. And Japan was always a good market to find good stuff over there.
Mhm.
So vinyl was definitely one of the things I started collecting, a lot.
Do you have a holy grail that you're like just on the hunt for that you
Well,
may never
no,
find?
there's some rarities I don't find in America, but like, again, there was like this Witchfinder General record I couldn't find in America. I found in Japan.
Mhm.
Um, I found, just some special printed stuff and picture discs you find that you can't find around.
Mhm.
Just cool stuff like that. I mean, when I was younger, it was all about Harleys and collecting Harleys and stuff like that. But I think I've outgrew that right now. I,
Yeah.
I live on the water, so I do a lot of boating and water sports, jet
Mhm.
skiing and boating, and
Oh, fun.
we love being outdoors on the water.
Hmm. That's
and,
that's
and RV, and we bought an RV, so we camp a lot as well. So we keep on the move, man. Got to keep it moving, man. Here in life, anytime we're not on the road, we're doing something.
I'm so jealous of the RV. I keep scaring my wife and I'm like, as soon as we retire, it's RV life. Like that's,
Don't wait till then, man. It's so good.
no, it's definitely something I need to throw into
Well, my wife didn't want to get it. She's like, we live on a tour bus. No
Mhm.
way, I don't want to do that. And like, it's different. We're working on the bus. This is
Mhm.
where relaxation. Once we got it, she's like, oh man, I'm glad we did this. So yeah, it's
Okay,
different.
cool. So I've got it from you, and I'm going to tell my wife. I'm going to be like, "Hey, Chuck says that I have to get an RV, so
Have
we
to.
we just got to make it happen." But
Got to make it happen.
anyway, sir, I got to say it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and you've convinced me. I'm going to the tour. I'm good. I'm going to be there in Pennsylvania and check it out because that tour just can't be missed at this point.
You got to. Life's too short at this point. You never know what tomorrow holds, and all of us are bands 40 years. None of us have announced any retirement dates or expiration dates, but
Mhm.
it's we're still all out here doing what we love to do, and it's great that we can get new fans, old fans,
Mhm.
but fans like you. Would be great to have you down and experience some of the new album. So awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, sir. It's been a complete pleasure.
Cool. Right on, brother. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you.